Welcome. I'm glad you're here. This class teaches the first step in the TAOFit method, how to perform a full body self-assessment. By practicing the same movement assessment each day, you will be able to perform all of the movements without following the video. You will be collecting data, noticing specific areas where tension shows up, how it shifts, and what's becoming a pattern. This kind of awareness gives you options. You can address tension early before it compounds into larger issues that eventually lead to pain in other parts of the body, often far removed from the original problem source, at which point the problem can become harder to identify, more expensive to treat, and more disruptive to your daily life. We will move through the body joint by joint, from toe tips to fingertips. Your focus is to slow down, breathe, pay attention to what you're feeling within your body. Pay attention to imbalances. Can you move as far? Is one side stiffer, tighter, more restricted, less stable, pinchy, or just a little off compared to the other side? Notice, does tension or discomfort in one area, big toe, wrist, knee, feel connected to tension in other places? Hip, low back, shoulders, or neck? Is all the tension on one side of the body, or does it cross midline and affect the other side? Take notes, especially for the movements that feel sticky. You can spend a little extra time and reps with these movements throughout the day. By the end of each day, reassess to see if the movements feel more balanced between the sides. Throughout the class, follow the rules of pain. Link will be down in the description below. Pain is a binary. It's either yes or no. If yes, rate it from 0 to 10. Stay below a 3 out of 10. If pain shows up on your face, a squint, a grimace, making that pirate look, that's your signal to back off. The rules of pain are the most important guideline in the TAOFit method. If you want to move with less pain, your body needs consistent experiences of pain-free movement. Otherwise, you're reinforcing pain at the neurological level. Again, rules of pain, link to a video will be down below, 1-minute video, please watch it. So I have one primary movement assessment for most people who are able to get down on the floor with ease. However, I have some clients who getting up and down off the floor is a struggle due to knee, hip, low back issues. So this is going to be more of a movement assessment class for the chair. The goal is to improve hip, spine, shoulder mobility, so that we can then start to get back down on the floor, because the floor is a really important place for us to move. So let's get started. All right, we're going to start with crocodile breath, making 2 big C shapes with our hands. Hands are going to go below the rib cage, above the hip bone, in that nice meaty section of the abdominal wall. Thumbs are going to go into the back. Index fingers are wrapping around into the front. And we want to imagine that we're squeezing onto a partially inflated balloon. And as we inhale, we're going to inflate that balloon. So you can imagine that balloon, as it gets inflated, should push the hands out and away. And I want to feel that push moving forward into the belly, out through the sides, into the palms, and into the thumbs, into that low back space, so that you're feeling that balloon expand in all directions. We're going to do a good 5 up to 10 nice slow breaths. And with each inhale, we're seeing if we can get that breath to expand a little bit bigger, so that our last breath is our biggest, most inflated breath. So inhale in through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. As you exhale, allow those hands to clench down just a little bit more, so that you have some good resistance to feel that inhale push out and away on. So you're starting to feel that breath push into the hands. I want to start to assess. We're noticing for symmetry. How well does that breath move to the right side of the body compared to the left side of the body? Do you feel it evenly pushing into both thumbs, or do you feel it more in one side than you do on the other? Same thing into the palms? Do you feel it more into one side palm and less into the other? If you feel that type of imbalance, see if you can get that breath to move a little bit more into that space where it feels a little tight and congested. As we get to our last breath, we're going to continue breathing into that balloon in the abdominals, but we're going to let our hands drop down to the sides. And from here, we're going to start getting into some pelvic tilts. So as we inhale, I want to let our pelvis tilt forward so that belly starts to move a little bit more forward and we get a big sway in the low back. As we exhale, we're scooping our tailbone. We want to feel the pelvis scoop underneath so that we get this little bit of low back curve, feeling into that stretch. Inhale, pelvis tilts forward. I want to make sure that we're not moving into pinch or pain in the low back. And notice which direction feels tighter and more restricted. Do you have more tightness on your inhale, feeling that belly open up? Do you feel more tightness on that scoop getting into that low back? We're going to come back to our starting point. We're going to relax the hips. And now we're going to focus more on shoulders. So letting the hands drop down to our sides. Spread the fingers nice and wide, and we're going to turn the palms up to the ceiling. So I'll change my position real quick. So arms are at the side, spread hands, palms are spiraling as much as we can up to the ceiling. We're now going to exhale as we shrug, spiral the hands forward. Thumbs are turning down to the floor. Hands will come in front of the knees, and then reach through those fingers. I'm going to turn sideways to make that a little bit better of a view. So thumbs should be down, nice rounded upper back. Then from here, we're inhaling as we shrug back, spiraling the palms back up to the ceiling. As we get to our sides, we're now reaching the fingers down to the floor. I want to feel the shoulder blades sliding down the upper back like we're trying to put them into our back hip pocket. Exhale, shrug, spiral forward, hands come to the knees to reach, getting this nice rounded upper back. Inhale as we spiral palms up, and then feel those shoulder blades slide down to the floor. On our next inhale, we're going to add our pelvic tilt to the shoulders. So as I inhale, spiraling palms up and sliding the hands down, pelvis is also tilting forward, belly's opening up, getting a big sway in the back. Exhale, shrug, spiral forward, reach. At the same time, scoop. So that we want to feel that rounded upper back, rounded lower back together. Then inhale, feel those hands sliding down to the floor, getting nice and tall in the spine. Good. So we're going to keep those hands at our side, palms up. Now we're going to get into our bowls of soup. So we want to keep those hands kind of at our side. Palms are starting up. And we're going to spiral one hand at a time. So keeping those fingers spread, turning the thumb down to the floor, and continuing to rotate as far as we can. I want to feel that rotation up into the shoulder. Opposite hand is doing the opposite. It is spiraling up to the ceiling. And then we're going to reverse hands. Other hand spirals up to the ceiling while the opposite side thumb turns down to the floor. And I want to feel that contralateral movement. We're moving oppositionally from one side to the other. And as I open up, rotating, I'm trying to rotate as far as I can. I'm trying to turn those thumbs as far as I can in each direction. Now, as we're doing this, we're going to slowly start letting the arms ratchet up a little higher and a little higher until we get up to about shoulder level. If you feel any impingement or discomfort in the shoulder, keep the shoulders below that level so that we're not getting into that pinch. If you're able to get up to shoulder height, this is where I want to be. And we're going to continue to spiral through. I want to actually exaggerate even more. As we internally spiral, start allowing that shoulder to round forward. Let it kind of move your spine, going from one side to the other. Really trying to get that fascia to stretch and move across the entire upper back. I want to think like a washcloth from fingertip to fingertip, and we're trying to wring out the washcloth all the way through to the middle. Good. Go ahead and relax the arms down. We're now going to grab the base of our chair, however low, underneath the seat. And I want to grab and pull so that we're pulling our shoulder blades down. I don't want those shoulder blades shrugged up. So I want to grab the chair, pull so those shoulder blades slide down the upper back. Feel that sternum kind of lifting up to the ceiling, and hold those, keep that grip on the chair. I want to keep the shoulder blades pressing down throughout. We're going to do neck mobility now. I don't want the shoulders shrugging up as we do our neck. We're going to start with checking our blind spots. So nice inhale in through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth as we slowly look over our right shoulder. Squeeze into it lightly. Inhale as we come back to the center. Exhale as we look over our left shoulder. And I'm really trying to reach with my chin more so than with my forehead. I don't want to turn with my forehead because I'm more likely to tilt my head as I turn. I want to reach with my chin and see how far can I get my chin to line up to the edge of that shoulder, the cliff of the shoulder. Inhale to center, exhale to look. And notice, how does this feel looking to the right compared to looking to the left? Does one side feel tighter, more restricted? Is one side limited? Are you able to go further on one side and not so much on the other side? Next, we're going to come back to our center and we're going to do some light tilt and lift. So just lightly letting that ear tilt towards the shoulder. This is not a heavy tilt. I don't want to try to touch my shoulder, just barely dropping down. Then the opposite ear, I'm lifting as if I'm trying to reach my ear to touch the ceiling as I exhale. Inhale brings us to center. Exhale tilts to the other side and lift. As you lift with that ear, since we have that hand gripping the bottom of the chair, as you lift with that ear, use that hand and kind of pull that shoulder down lightly so that you create just a little bit more traction in the neck. And again, I want to notice, how does this feel on the right side compared to the left side? Good. So last for the neck we'll do today is going to be shallow neck circles. Still keeping those arms pulled down. We're going to start by letting our chin drop down lightly to our chest. So lightly, I want to stay shallow with these neck rolls to make sure that that's not painful on the neck. And then as we get into it, we can slowly get a little deeper. So starting chin to chest, letting the right ear roll to the right shoulder, then letting our gaze move up to the ceiling, and then left ear to the left shoulder, and then chin back down to chest. And we're going to continue through those 4 points, and we're going to slowly smooth them out into a circle. And as you're moving through that circle, I want to make sure we're not pushing into pain, discomfort. If you got a little crepitus, if you got a little crunchy sound, it's okay to kind of move into that as long as it is not painful. If it's crackly, I want to imagine we're kind of going in and decrackling the neck. And slowly working a little deeper and a little deeper as long as it is not painful. Once we get a good 5 to 10 in one direction, we're going to switch directions. As we switch directions, I want to start shallow again. Just because we work that circle in one direction doesn't mean it's going to be pain-free going the opposite way. So I want to start shallow for the first few and then slowly get a little deeper as it feels comfortable. And this one again, notice the difference. How does it feel moving in this circle going in one direction than it did in the other direction? Was one direction a little bit more tighter, more noisy? Did the neck complain a little bit more? Is it easier in the other direction? Good. All right. So now we're going to get into some hip mobility. So we're working figure 4. So first thing with figure 4 is I just simply want to bring ankle up to the knee, see how it feels. Part of the reason I'm working this chair mobility for this particular class is the idea that we're dealing with some significant hip mobility. So it may be difficult just getting into this position. If so, then super simple mobility drill is just simply bringing that ankle up as much as you can to the knee. If you can't get it up to the knee, just bringing it as high as you can, bringing it back down and switching to the other side and slowly working reps. If you're able to get that ankle up onto the knee, taking a breath and bringing it down and switching to the other side. This will help kind of right off the bat, will give us some assessment points. Is it easier to get one ankle up onto a knee than it is on the other side? My left ankle, left hip moves a little bit more freely. My right one, it's a little stiffer. I want to pay attention. Is there pain in the knee? Is there pain in the hip? If there's pain in the knee, then I want to be a little bit cautious getting into the next part of this movement. Now, if we're able to get that ankle up onto the knee, we don't have significant pain in the hip or the knee joint. From here, we're going to do just simple little knee mobility, actively reaching the knee down to the floor, actively lifting it up to the ceiling. I want to exhale as I reach to the floor, inhale as we lift. This should get us a little bit of mobility kind of deeper into that hip socket. And pay attention to how it feels on this hip. Does this side feel nice and easy? Is it free or is it tight and restricted? Again, pay attention to any kind of discomfort at the knee joint itself. And then we're going to go ahead and switch to the other side, doing the same thing. Nice inhale as that knee lifts, exhale as it reaches to the floor. And this hip is definitely tighter, especially as I reach to the floor. You may notice that just getting into this position, one knee sits higher than the other knee. That's going to be an indication of some imbalance in hip mobility, which is part of the reason we want to work these particular movements in order to get those hips moving a little bit better. Once we balance out on this side, we're going to go ahead and switch back to the other side. Now, we're going to get into some light folds, and we're going to be folding with our breath on the exhale. I want to continue to kind of actively reach that knee to the floor as we exhale into our fold. So we'll start with an inhale, filling up that crocodile breath, nice and tall. As we exhale, just kind of want to let the hands cascade over the knees, Nice, simple exhale. Don't reach too far. Inhale. It's bringing it all right back up, getting nice and tall. Exhale into our fold. Again, I'm actively keeping that knee lightly reaching to the floor as I'm coming into my fold. Again, notice, where does this feel tight? Do you feel it more in the hip? Do you feel it at the knee? Do you feel it in your low back or even up in the shoulders? Once we get about 5 to 10 reps, we're going to switch, do the same thing on the other side. So again, ankle on knee. Knee is actively trying to lightly reach to the floor. Inhale breath gets us nice and tall. Exhale breath, nice, slow, simple. We're not reaching super far to start. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale brings us back up to tall. And then exhale into that nice waterfall over the knees. With each one, we can see if we can reach a little further without forcing it. And how does this side feel compared to the other side? My right hip is actually a little tighter today than it has been over the past couple weeks. It's been my left hip, so I'm noticing this right hip significantly more. And that's important. What we're finding in these movement assessments, that the areas that are tighter on one side compared to the other, those need to be big kind of, let that be a big moment in awareness, so that these are things we want to do more frequently during the day in order to get that mobility to be a little bit more balanced out. All right, we're gonna let both feet come down to the floor, and now we're gonna change our position on the chair. So I got the back, right now I'm sitting with my back to the chair. I'm going to turn sideways into a split position. I've only got one hip on the floor, on the chair. The other hip is off the chair. My back knee is more forward. I want that foot flat to the floor. And if we can, I want that back foot tucked, the toes tucked underneath. Knee should be directly under hip, directly under shoulder, directly under the head. And we're going to come back into our breath with pelvic tilts. However, that pelvic tilt is only going to be working one side pelvis. The other side is locked down on the chair. So inhale, feeling that breath move into the belly. Pelvis tilts more forward. We're getting a sway in our low back. Exhale, drawing that navel up and into the spine, and we're scooping. That scoop should feel like we're kind of digging into that back toe, so that we get a kind of stretch and load through the front of the thigh. Inhale, let that pelvis tilt forward, big sway in the back. Exhale, drawing that navel in, actively scoop. See if you can feel that light stretch through the front of the thigh. Or maybe it's a significant stretch. This is an important assessment point. How big of a stretch do we feel in the thigh? Are you getting a big stretch at that big toe in the back? If you have pain in the big toe, I would say bring that foot forward just a little bit. We can continue to work. It's not going to get into that front pelvis quite as well. The other option is to untuck that toe. But again, it's going to be a little bit more limited as far as how much we're able to get that load in the front of the hips. Ideally, big toe is tucked underneath so that we're getting toe mobility with that hip mobility. As we get to about 5 to 10 reps, we're now going to turn the other direction on the chair. Again, knee under hip, under shoulder, under head. Back toe is hopefully tucked underneath. Inhale into that crocodile breath. Feel that belly open up, pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, navel to spine as we scoop. See if you feel that stretch and load through the front of the thigh. And you, right off the bat, you might notice that this side is tighter or more restricted, or it's significantly less tight than the other side. Interesting for that my back hip was tighter on the right side, but it's my left front hip that is tighter. I got a lot more tension, both the big toe on this left side and the front of the hip. And as I go into my tilt, I can feel a little bit more tightness in the low back. So those are important assessment points, noticing where things are different on one side compared to the other. I can definitely feel this big toe and front of the thigh. Although as I'm getting a few reps, I can feel it loosening up a little bit. Again, once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to go ahead and switch back to the other side. And I'm going to change my position. So everything that we just did from the waist down is going to be the same. I still got that back toe tucked. Knee is directly under the hip, under the shoulders, under the head. Breath in, pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, scoop, scooping the pelvis as we draw that navel in. But we're going to now add in a reach of that arm. So the knee that is down, that arm is going to reach up as high as we can to the ceiling. Inhale, we're letting it drop. Feeling that pelvis tilt forward, big sway in the back. Exhale, scoop, lock in that scoop. Feel that load through the front of the thigh, and then add that reach. Inhale as we let it soften. Exhale, actively scoop, load that hip. Nice big reach. As you're getting into this, one little more movement that we can add to it. As we reach up through the fingers, you can also try to reach that knee down to the floor. Trying to get as far from the knee to fingertips. I want to see how much can we feel that stretch through that side body. Can we get a little bit into the hips, into that low back? Inhale, we're letting that shoulder soften. Belly opens up forward, big sway in the back. Exhale, scoop, drawing navel in and reach as we're also trying to drop that hip. Notice where you're feeling it on this side. And we're going to switch to the other side. So again, big toes tucked, knee under hip, under shoulder, under head. Starting with that inhale, belly opens up, pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, scoop, draw that navel in, and then hand reaches straight up. Really trying to get those fingertips to extend up to the ceiling. Inhale as we let it soften, belly opens up. Exhale, navel to spine as we reach. Once you have a few reps in, if this is feeling comfortable and you can get a little bit more, we're going to add reaching down through the knee as you reach up. On this side, I feel it tighter in that side body, in that low back area, which is a big, big deal. If you feel a difference in that side body on this, on one side compared to the other, then this is a movement that I definitely want to start working on with a little bit more frequency, because that's going to be something that's going to impact our gait mechanics and our breath. Good. All right, so I'm going to switch back to the other side. So still in our split stance on the chair, still got that big toe tucked, knee under hip, under shoulder, under head. We're still working all the same stuff from the waist down. So inhale, pelvis tilts, exhale, scoop, drawing navel in. But now instead of reaching up, we're going to rotate. And I want to see how far can I turn both shoulders towards the back of the chair. So inhale, belly opens up, pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, scoop. Lock in that scoop. I want to feel that load through that front of the thigh. And then as you're continuing to exhale, turn chest towards the back of the chair. You can even place hands on the chair to try to square the shoulders to the back a little bit. Then it'll release as you inhale. Pelvis goes forward, belly opens up. Exhale, scoop, and then nice rotation into that chair. Now, as we're doing this, something I want to pay attention to is I want to keep those hips locked in. As I rotate my shoulders, I don't want my hips to rotate with. My knees should not be turning with me. If anything, I want my hips kind of locked in the opposite direction. They're kind of almost counter rotating. I want to get more wringing out of the washcloth through the spine, turning that chest as much as possible towards the back of the chair. Notice, how does this feel through the hips and into that low back, making sure that we're avoiding going into pain, pinch or pain. But other than that, like, where do you feel that tension and the tightness? And then we're going to switch, do the same thing on the other side. Back toe is tucked, knee under hip, under shoulder, under head. Inhale into that belly, exhale, navel to spine. As we scoop, feel that load through that front of the thigh. Continue to exhale towards the back of the chair. Inhale as we bring it back forward. Again, belly opens up, pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, scoop, and nice rotate. How does it feel on this side compared to the other side? I'm still feeling that big toe is a little tighter on this side. Got a little bit more tension in that left side low back, that same area I was feeling on the side body, on our reach. So again, these are areas in which the more I feel them, the more I'm aware of them that I become, the more I work on those areas throughout the day. Good. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and stand up, and we're going to continue to use the chair, but I want to use the chair more just as a stability, something to hold on to. You can use a staff, you can use a counter. We're going to just do a little bit of balance standing clock. So if you don't need if you can do balance standing without the chair, great. If you need the chair for a little bit of extra stability, that's good too. I'm going to do these without the chair for the moment. So we're going to come into a spread the toes nice and wide. I want to come into a single leg stance. So we're balancing on one leg. First thing is I want to make sure that we're staying really, really well balanced. I don't want that foot wobbling around. If you can't keep that foot grounded where you have a good solid tripod, ball of the big toe, ball of the pinky toe, and heel, all remaining in contact. If you're constantly rolling off one of those 3 points, go ahead and use the chair for more stability. So if you're able to get into this position without that ankle wobbling a whole lot, then we're working on our clock. We're imagining we're standing on the face of a clock, and we want to reach to each number and then come back up to standing. We're reaching to 1, we're reaching to 2, coming all the way back up. Most important thing here is I'm maintaining that perfect stability through that foot. Again, if that foot starts to get real wobbly, go ahead and add a little extra stability just to keep that foot well planted. And we're slowly working around the face of the clock. I want to go nice and slow, take our time. Ideally, it takes us about a minute just to work through one side. As I get into these ranges behind, reaching back, I want to see if I can let that hip move a little bit with that reach. Inhale as I bring it back. And if I'm reaching back across, I'm seeing how far can I get that reach? Can I get a little bit of load into that hip? Again, I want to be safe. If this is unstable, it's okay to have something for extra support. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other foot. So let that foot spread as wide as you can. Ground into that tripod, coming into that single leg stance. Do you have good stability, or do you need a little extra balance and support? And then doing the same thing. We're working through the numbers on the clock. Going nice and slow. This will be a good assessment. If one side you're able to do the full clock or most of the clock without losing balance, without needing to put your foot down, are you able to go through the whole thing, staying balanced, but then you switch to the other foot and all of a sudden it's like super difficult, really shaky, keep falling out of it. That's going to be a pretty important assessment of some imbalances, some major stability imbalances between the right side and the left side of the body, which I would put as a high priority. We want to work on that, get that balance better between the sides, because that's going to help reduce our fall risks. Again, as we get to these back areas, I'm seeing how much can I open the hip up, reaching the hip back, or reaching across. Can I get into that hip a little bit with that back last reach? All right, last thing we're going to do, or last two things, bringing the chair back in. We're going to stand behind the back of the chair, and we're going to get a nice wide stance. Toes are facing forward. We're going to use the chair just as a little bit of a balance and stability, and we're going to work a little bit side to side, letting the hips drop. Opposite leg I'm keeping straight. And as I fit into it, I want to let my butt sit back, almost like I'm sitting onto a chair behind me, so that I keep weight in the heel of my foot. I don't want my weight shifting forward to where my knee goes forward and that heel lifts up. I want to feel that weight back. Exhale coming up, inhale on the way down, exhale as we come up. I don't want to go so low that I have to use that chair a whole lot, partly because that chair is not going to support us if we're going to fall. It's more there just to kind of give us a little bit of extra stability. If you're able to do it without the chair, then that's even better. And with each one, we're seeing if we can get a little bit lower and a little bit lower. I want to feel that light stretch through the inner thigh. I also want to just feel that load in the hip so that our hips are working to get a little bit stronger. Good. Once you get about 10 of those, 10 of on each side would be great. We're going to come back to our chair, to our sit. We're going to finish with our crocodile breath again, making a nice big C shapes with our hands, thumbs in the back, index fingers in the front, and getting a good 10 nice slow breaths. Again, each inhale, inflate a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger so that when you get to your last breath, that's the biggest inflation through that balloon. Once you get 2 or 3 breaths in, start to pay attention to the symmetry between the sides. How well is it moving into that right hand compared to how well is it moving into the left hand? And if you can remember back to the beginning of the class, do you feel like you have a little bit more expansion? Does it feel a little stronger and more active? As you're inhaling, you may notice the shoulders want to tense up, they may want to shrug. As you exhale, don't press them down. Just see if you can let them relax, let them go. Let that tension release on that exhale. We can go ahead and take our hands off our side. You can bring them, let the hands hang, or you can bring your hands to your knees. Continuing to breathe into that crocodile breath. But now I want to start bringing that breath up into the ribs, up into the chest, up into the shoulder and neck. Upper back as well. Same concept of expanding like a balloon. So it's not just moving forward into the chest. I want to feel it moving out through the ribs and into that upper back space. On inhale, we're breathing into tension. And on exhale, we're letting the tension go. And when you're ready, take your time standing up. Just did a lot of good deep breath work. I want to make sure you're not dizzy or lightheaded before you come to a standing position.